Well, thank you very, very much. And I'm so grateful to all of you for coming here today and following your hearts, following your inner tuition, showing up for an appointment that we probably made 60,000 years ago. Because this is what I find, is that all of the groups that come together, it's because we have a soul agreement. And we don't remember it, we don't know what it is, but we just know, you see a picture, you see a word, and you just know, I have to go there. And I've had so many people come to my events, they maybe saw a picture of me and just said, I need to go there, I need to do a session with her or whatever. So I'm very, very grateful that you all showed up here in this ancient land of Mu. I'd like to thank Laurie for inviting me here and Jacob to invite me to this very beautiful house. I don't know if any of you... Let's give Laurie All of my information comes from hypnotherapy, from either going past life regression, future progression, connecting with stars and souls to find... If I want to know anything about what's going on, I just do a journey and say, what's going on? And I ask my higher self or my guides, my teachers, the Syrian councils of light, and they tell me. So that's where the information from the books comes from. So I did, I think it was 16 sessions going back to Lemuria, and then I did 18 sessions going forward to the new earth after the Ascension, when everything is restored to peace and harmony. So I can assure you that we're on the way, and it is coming. Well, that was why I wrote the book, because when I'd published the Coming Home to Lemuria, then I was getting emails from people all over the world saying, we're just overwhelmed, we feel hopeless, we feel despair, is it ever going to change? So I asked my guides, my higher self, what can I tell these people? And that's when I was guided to do the sessions for the other book to see where we're going, which is called The New Earth. So I'd like to thank Regan and Taryn. Regan was one... Would you like to stand up? Regan was one of the people that I did the session for the book. Miracles are the new normal. And we have to start thinking in terms of, when is my next miracle coming? Because it's not about us making things happen anymore. It's about knowing that it's going to happen and directing it and intending it, and it does. So, oh yeah, that's right. Regan, I came to visit Regan and Taryn in March. We went down to Honau now. It was pouring with rain, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The sky was grey, the ocean was grey. No, not a soul, nobody was there. This whole pod of dolphins just came right up to where we were standing and said, get in the water. And I'd never spoken to a dolphin before. I didn't know I could speak dolphin, but apparently we all can. So I got in the water and I just start weeping again. And the dolphin said to me, we are your family and you need to move here. So I said, well, that's fine with me, but I would need a miracle because I had no money. I was living in Santa Fe, had about $1,000 in the bank, renting a place. And I said, I need a miracle. So that night, Regan and I went to Elizabeth's drumming circle. You know Elizabeth because she does it here. And there were only 3 of us there. There was me, Regan, and one other lady. And when we were doing Elizabeth was drumming and we were doing the journey, the dolphins took me in a ship to Sirius and showed me where we came from. So we were all together on Sirius, and this is all in the book, the Coming Home to Lemuria book. We were on Sirius in the Temple of the Christ Flame, dolphins, whales, and people. And the purpose was that Gaia was calling for the people of the light, the children of the light, to come onto her body to bring the light, to help her to lift into her ascension. So we all volunteered because we had no idea what we were letting ourselves in for. Otherwise, we may not have been quite so quick. So we were in the Temple of the Christ Flame on Sirius, the dolphins, the whales, and us. And the plan was that we were going to bring the flame of Christ consciousness. Now, this is nothing to do with religion and the Christian church. It's everybody really just stepping into the heart and living from the heart. And that is all we are here to do. That is our only job down here, is to live from the heart. So the plan was that we would all come down to the earth and we would go to sleep. We, the humans, would fall asleep, forget who we were, start thinking we're just these bodies with brains walking about till we die, and then that's it. Well, the dolphins and the whales were going to remember who they are and remember who we are for us, because they did not fall asleep. So dolphins, whales, cats, dogs, horses, elephants, apes, pretty much most of the rest of the planet except us, are fully conscious beings. And we have a lot of catching up to do, which is why they are still here, because we are supposed to be the stewards of this earth. And when we step into our full consciousness, we will take that role. So the dolphins and the whales and the horses, the elephants, the monkeys, they are holding it for us in trust, hoping that we're going to wake up, get with the program, and start putting the earth back to the way that she needs to be. So that's the plan. That was what I was shown when we were there. You see, when we lived in Lemuria, which was long, hundreds of thousands of years ago, and we can't really put a time to it because it was before we count time. Because when we first came to Lemuria, we were in light bodies. We were more like angelic beings. And we created everything that we needed just with our minds. We would just visualize it. And then we would come together in our groups. So we built these incredibly beautiful crystal temples. And the one that I first was taken to is right off Kealakekua. If you took a line from Honaunau, Kealakekua, go about a mile into the ocean, that's where this crystal temple is. And we activated it on my birthday in August 2006. And many of the people at the ceremony actually saw the crystal city come up out of the ocean. Because the places that we have worked, where we have been powerful, where we were fully conscious, we knew who we were, we knew what we were doing, we knew why we were here, and we never had a moment's doubt. It was yes, I can, and yes, I know. So when the destruction times were coming, which they always did, we would come in, we'd build these beautiful temples, whether it was in Greece, Egypt, Atlantis, Lemuria, and then it would all get taken over by people who were using power for self. So when we knew that everything was going to be destroyed, in all of the civilizations, we shut down the temples. We closed the vortex doorways that would take us back to the stars so that it couldn't be misused by people who wanted power over. You see, in Lemuria, we had no concept of power over. Everything was, how may I serve you? How can I support you to materialize your dream? Because everything we needed, we just created by thought. So there was no lack, there was no scarcity. We never had to worry about where our money was coming from. We didn't have money. So it was a lot easier then. We didn't need a Chase bank account or any of that. So we closed them all down and we shut ourselves down. And now this is the time, very fortunately, that is the return. When we've gone as far down as we need to go, exploring density, the third dimension, and separation. And the plan always was that there would be a certain point where we would regain our consciousness and we would return the planet to the garden as it was in Lemuria. When the Bible refers to the Garden of Eden, that really was Lemuria. Everything was harmony and peace and love. And that's all there was. There was no competition, there was no conflict, there was no hierarchies. We would have been absolutely horrified if we achieved something at the expense of another person. And so that consciousness now is coming back, moving from conflict to cooperation. And we are the ones who are bringing it because we've actually lived it. We know how to live on this earth as fully divine, activated beings because we've already done it. And that's why we are coming back now. And that's why we're coming back to the places like Hawaii, which was the motherland of Mu. It was the center, the heart center of Mu was Hawaii. And that's why we were all called. It's why I was called, why you were all called, because you remember Mu. It's in your DNA. So the light codes for us to live once more as fully connected divine humans are already in your DNA helix. And they're just waiting to be activated. So one of the things we will be doing this evening, later on, I'll do a meditation and we'll go through a process that will activate whatever light code you are ready to receive at the moment. So we will do that later. What it means to be a fully activated human being is for you to be fully conscious of your own divinity, to be living from that place where you know that you are a creator, God, goddess, and you can literally manifest anything that you can possibly think of very easily. And that's why so many things that are coming into our lives today are to help us to remember. So all of my work, whether I'm doing individual sessions or group sessions like this, is to activate something in you that says to you, you already know, you already are. You just need to remember and start being. So it's not something you have to learn. You don't have to study and take a degree. You just need to connect with who you already are and then start living it, which means just living from the heart. That's all it is. That's all we are here for. And it's so simple that people walk right past it because they think, well, it must be more, there must be more to it than that. But really, there isn't, because what we came here to do was to be love in every situation. So in the supermarket, in the gas station, just look at the person who is serving you, and you just look them in the eye and say, I see you, and I love you, and thank you to every single person that you meet. Now, when we lived in Lemuria, we were completely telepathic. We didn't need to talk. We worked together in this really beautiful, the temples, and it was usually in a group of 3, 6, 9 or 12, and on the floor of the temple would be a star. If 12 of us were working, it would be a 12-pointed star. The codes of light would come in from the sun through the crystal dome in the roof, and within that golden light were the creation codes that held all of the blueprints for everything that could ever be created. So as a group, we would hold the intention of what we wanted to bring in, whether it was a plant or a tree or an animal or a crystal temple. We would ask for the blueprint to be downloaded, and then it would come in through the golden light, the creation codes, and each person in the group would receive those codes in whatever their speciality was. So some people would receive the sound code, another person would receive the geometry, somebody else would get the visual. And then, so that the golden light comes in, the creation codes come down, comes into the person, and then that person translates it into their language. So we would tone, we would hold the image, we would see the geometry, and connect to our higher essence and to the source. And then whatever we were focusing on would literally manifest, would appear in the center of the circle, because we literally created it out of the ethers by our intention. Now that is where we are going. That's going to be the next step in our evolution. So what we are doing now is a process of releasing all of the things that have happened to us since we lived that idyllic life in peace, harmony, and love. There was a point in our evolution as souls where we made the conscious decision to disconnect our golden cord from our own divine essence, and to forget, we were losing the connection to our own divinity. And we really had no idea what that was going to entail. Because before that, when we lived it was actually, we called it Mu. Now we call it Lemuria, but we called it Mu, M-U. And whenever we wanted to go home to wherever we came from, which could have been the many different star systems that we came from, it wasn't just one, Sirius, Pleiades, Arcturus, Andromeda. At different times we were on all of them, and some people have more of a connection to one than the other. Mine's mostly Sirius. So whenever we wanted to, we would just create a vortex and we would go, create a stargate, and there we were back on Sirius. And this was just something that we did without having to think about it. We could do it all the time. Well, when we disconnected, all those stargates were not accessible to us anymore, because we shut off that part of ourselves that was always connected by a golden cord. And so then we were stuck here, and we had to keep stepping our energy down further and further because then we'd lost the connection to the fifth dimension, which is love, peace, harmony, beauty. We went down to the third dimension, which has all of those things, but it also has anger, resentment, greed, fear, grief, all of those emotions, which we'd never experienced before. So when we realized that we got stuck here, then a lot of people just went into despair. And I actually remembered quite recently my experience of that time of the fall, that I was in Mu, and we were all in this big temple, and there was like an elder, and there was a vortex, there was a golden gateway, and we all came up one by one, and this elder said, you can go home, you've got to stay. You can go, you can stay. Came to me, I got to stay. And when I realized what I'd done, that I'd lost my connection to the divine, I just went into despair. And I set myself up for lifetimes of enslavement because of that despair, that I didn't care what happened to me because I can't go home, so I don't care anymore. So I probably had about 2,000 lifetimes of being enslaved. A lot of us did in Atlantis, Egypt, Greece. We just keep coming back, and we keep playing the same old story out, and has different names, and we wear different uniforms, but pretty much the same thing. Now, some people went into anger and rage that they couldn't get back, that they were marooned here. And so those people are still carrying that. So what I found from doing my sessions with hypnosis is that most people are carrying either grief or rage. And it's from the original separation, it's from the fall. So you might be creating situations in your life now that make you feel grief or rage, but it's really because your soul is wanting you to have an opportunity to release those emotions that have been sitting there ever since we went into that separation. The reason that he told some souls they had to stay, he wasn't just being mean. He was making sure that the people who stayed would have the strength to actually do what we are doing now. So you are actually the ones who were the strongest souls, because ever since then, which was about 60,000 years ago when Lemuria was destroyed, it's now under the Pacific Ocean. And we've just been playing out, being persecuted, losing our loved ones, being enslaved, and we carry all of those memories within us. And so every time somebody is triggering you, they are giving you an opportunity to look at what is it in me that is asking to be released now. So the way I talk about that is that I say we have two kinds of mirrors, and we attract people who are going to hold those two mirrors for us. Now, on the one hand, there are the light mirrors, who are the people who see our divinity. They see the angel that we are. They love us unconditionally, and they want us to be the best that we can be, even if it means going to live in Australia and I never see you again. Even if it means some loss for them, they want us to be the best that we can be. And these are often not our families. These are often our soul, spiritual families. Then the other kinds of people that hold what I call the dark mirrors are the ones who are showing us where we are wounded. So because of all these many, many lifetimes of living in pain and persecution, because we were the light, we were persecuted because of who we were, because we spoke up against injustice, or we just happened to be the wrong religion at the wrong time. We didn't change uniforms quick enough. So we might have still been a pagan or a druid when the Christians came in and wiped them all out, that kind of thing. So those people come into our lives to hold up the mirror to our wounding. And I call those our shadow or our dark mirrors. Now, if you hold any belief at all about yourself, about the way you deserve to be treated, about the kind of financial stability or security that you deserve, whether you feel you deserve respect or disrespect, you will attract people who will agree with you. And that's what I mean by the dark mirror. If you believe that you deserve to be abused, then you will attract people who will act out that role and totally abuse you. And quite often you get married to them and then it doesn't work out. So I don't recommend going that route. I recommend every time you get triggered, look at yourself and say, what is it in me that created this situation? Why am I allowing any kind of abuse, any kind of disrespect? And then listen to that part of you that is crying. And it's often a wounded child, and it's often a continuation of a past life story, because we keep recreating the same situations from life to life. And each time we re-experience it, it's giving us another opportunity to release it. So if you are feeling triggered by anything, start with the small things. The people that just really, somebody just really got on my nerves today. So what is it in me? Which part of me is needing my attention? And then give yourself whatever that part is asking for. And it's often the wounded child who just isn't feeling safe or who needs nurturing. So if you find yourself whining, being whiny, don't say, oh, I shouldn't feel that. You just talk to yourself as if it was your child and say, well, what are you upset about? What's hurting you? What do you need? What can I do for you? So instead of blaming the person that is being abusive, you look at yourself and say, what is it in me that is allowing this, inviting it and calling it in? And when you own that part of you and you do whatever you need to do to release that part, you no longer need that person to hold the mirror, because you've got it. You've brought back that shadow part, that wounded part. We don't banish them, we bring them all into the love. So once you see what the lesson is, then you say, okay, thank you very much for holding that mirror to me. I no longer need you to hold it. I'm claiming it for myself. And that person will just disappear out of your life because you don't need them anymore. And so they don't need to be there anymore. So they're not just coming in to victimize you randomly because they've got nothing better to do and it's a Tuesday. It's just you called them in. And I know this because of the hypnosis that I do, because what we do in the sessions is I take you to experience yourself as soul and then talk to your personality self from the soul. So you're having a conversation from the part of you that knows who you are, knows what your plan is, and is totally connected to the part of you down here that's going, what? So I have not yet come across any situation where something that is happening to the person is not something that they have invited in. So we look at the soul contract. What is this person teaching me? What am I teaching them? Have we finished it yet? Have we done it yet? Do we need to change it? Because you can change contracts. You don't have to stay with the contract you came in with. You can either move on from that person, or you can change the contract with that person and transform the relationship. And I've seen both, and it works. So never, ever, ever get stuck in that blame thing. Like, you did this, you did that. You're a really nasty, mean, horrible person, and I don't like you. Just say, why am I allowing this person to treat me in any kind of disrespectful way. So when you really start to get in touch with the God, the goddess, the divine spark that you truly are, then you do not allow people to trash you, be disrespectful in any way. So those people who are doing that, who are showing you where your wounding is, they're actually the people you need to thank. And you don't really often feel like it. But fortunately, in Hawaii, they have ho'oponopono.
That's right.
Because that's one of the other things I want to talk about, is that when we went into the fourth and the fifth dimension, we started doing this thing called karma, where we had lifetimes with many people over and over and over again. And so we had karmic debts building up. Basically, anything that you did to anybody that was not coming from unconditional love, you have to come back and put it right, or vice versa. So we've been running these karmic completions this lifetime. It's why a lot of people have had several marriages or several relationships this time. Most of them have been just karmic cleaning up exercises. Now this life, because the earth has shifted, and it's already shifted, we don't have to do karma. In fact, we don't really have the time to do karma anymore. We can't spend 20 years with each person that comes in to just do a karmic releasing, because we'd be 100 by the time we got to meet the person that we're actually contract with to go through the ascension together. So those are the ones that are coming in now, is that the karmic completions are ending. And you can end them just by forgiving everybody. Just saying, anybody that's done anything to me in any time, any space, any dimension, you are forgiven and our karma is complete. Because the earth has already shifted and we need to realize and to move with it. The earth actually shifted on December the 21st, 2012, which was the dimensional shift. And so now the earth has already moved into the fifth dimension, which is love, peace, and harmony. So if you look around the earth, it doesn't look too much like there's much love, peace, and harmony going on. But actually there is, because all of those old resentments, those feuds, those old hatreds of Muslims and Christians that have been seeded in the past are now having an opportunity to be released. Everything's coming up to the surface so that it can be released. Like you have a wound and it's poisoned, you have to open the wound to let the poison out. So that's what all this conflict in the Middle East and all this racial tension is, the opportunity for old adversities to be put to rest. So now it's time to just shift everything into forgiveness, into love, into harmony. Because the earth has already shifted. And we are just being given opportunities to see where we're still trying to run the old programs of, you did this, you did that, no I didn't, yes you did, well let's just keep fighting until one of us wins because the other one's dead, and then we'll know it's resolved. Well, you know, that hasn't worked historically, and it's just not going to work. So let me tell you what I experienced on that shift, December 21st, 2012. I had no idea where I was supposed to be for that shift. I'd been talking to people about it for years, and I actually wrote the New Earth Rising just before that happened. And I found myself in Mount Shasta, which is one of the very powerful vortex energies on the earth. And I knew that 3:33 a.m. was the time of the actual shift. So I went to sleep, and I woke up at exactly 3:33. It was on the clock. And what I felt, I was expecting fireworks on July 4th, like, yay, we've made it, we're all enlightened now, we're just going to wake up, we're all going to be God, which a lot of people were expecting, and were very disappointed. But what actually happened was that this blanket of very, very soft blue light came down, and it wrapped the whole planet, but it was very subtle. And it was like a snowflake. It was quiet, it was subtle. And I just felt it come in. I felt it come into my body. I went back to sleep. Didn't really understand it in my head. But in the morning I woke up, and it's December 21st, 2012, the day that the Ascension is going to happen. And I'm in Mount Shasta, which is one of the very evolved spiritual communities. So there's 1 million events for that day. And I thought, oh, what shall I do? I'll go to this meditation and that ceremony, and I'll go and sit with these people up the mountain and commune with the elements. And you know, very, very clearly into my being was that I didn't need to go to any of those events, because I had stepped into my presence. And so wherever I was going, and wherever I go from that time forward, I am taking my presence. So I don't need to do anything. So I didn't actually go to any of them. I went and got a massage, and I went carol singing. and I felt that ever since then, that I've stepped into the part of myself that knows there's a plan, it's all working out, it's all perfect. And if I find myself worrying about things, I just hand them over. Okay, I can't sort this out, so I'm just giving it to you. Can you sort it out? And they do. My guides, my higher self, Mother Mary. It doesn't really matter who you connect to the other worlds through. There are many masters, many guides who are here to help us, because what we do on the earth and what we are here to do is affecting the whole universe. Because basically we're the bottom of the barrel here. Earth is known as one of the hardest schools in all of the known universes, because we're doing duality, because we're doing separation. Most other planets and star systems are working beginning at the 5th dimension, going up to 45th, where there is only pure light. We are the only planet that is still doing 3rd dimension that I know of. So all of these star beings, all of these councils of light, the angels, the hierarchies, are all watching the earth, incredibly impressed by what we are doing down here. Whenever I channel for people, one of the other things I do is I channel a person's Akashic record, who you are as a soul, who you work with, where you came from. And most of the beings just come to say, thank you. We are amazed at what you are doing here. And we thank you for the courage that it takes to live in total chaos and be the love. Because it's easy to be love when you live on Venus, which is one of my other dimensional existences, and I really like it over there. But on the earth, and really that was our test, is could we come to a place that is hell? It's living hell. You don't die and go to hell. You come to earth, and it's right there. And that was the whole test that we set for ourselves when we decided to do the fall. God didn't chuck us all out of the garden and say, you've been really naughty, you've got to get out of this garden. No, we decided that in order for our souls to evolve, which is what is the journey of every soul, is to give itself obstacles and challenges so that it evolves. If nothing ever happens that is difficult, then your soul doesn't have the opportunity to grow. So we chose to go through the fall. What was the greatest challenge that we could give to ourselves in order for us to grow as a soul was to go to sleep, forget that we are creator gods, forget that we are divine beings walking around in physical form, and think we've got to deal with all this stuff by ourselves. And we have. We're still here. No matter what they do to us, we just keep coming back because we are strong souls. We were the ones who were strong enough to stay. But when the energy shifted on the 2012, we don't have to do that anymore. Now it's time to remember that we create through our intention with ease and grace. So one analogy that came to me was that we're in a theatre and the show is over, the curtains come down, and we're all going to the after party to drink champagne and eat whatever we eat. Now there are some people still on the stage going, yes, but I've still got this drama that I want to do. I'm not finished yet. And we're all at the party drinking the champagne. Well, that's fine. If they want to carry on to Act 3242, let them. Who are you to say the drama's over? You can only say it's over for me. So personally, I'd be heading for the after party and just really celebrating who you are. Because I can tell you that you are masters of the universe. That is why you are here. Each one of you is here to bring to the earth as a gift what is uniquely yours. Because only you brings ribbons of 6,000 different stars into this body, into this earth. Only you has walked through this lifetime, that lifetime, learnt this lesson. So even though you only feel yourself as one being, you're actually millions of beings walking in this little body, you know? Very, very small body when you look at who you really are, which would fill a universe. I want to tell you about my near-death experience because that's how I know this. And this was really my wake-up call. I was 29, Saturn return. Anybody who knows astrology, if you're asleep at 29, things often happen and you get hit by a 2x4 and you change direction. So I was in the hospital having my twins. I gave birth to twins. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong from the beginning to the end. So I ended up with blood poisoning and I was rushed back to the hospital. And that first night that I was there, I experienced lifting up out of my body, looking down at the bed, the hospital bed. That body is on the bed. I am not in it. I am up here. And all of my consciousness was out of the body. And I was not on any kind of spiritual path. I knew absolutely nothing about that. I was a really normal person before this happened. So I'm looking down at that body. It was extremely easy to leave. It was not at all difficult to leave. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew it was into peace and love, and there were angels there. So I drifted up, I'm drifting away, and I find myself in this field of golden light. And as soon as I got into that light, I knew this is where I came from, this is where I belong, this is who I am, and this is where I want to be. Because everything I could ever need was in the golden light. It's very hard to put it into words. And it was just just bliss. I was just in bliss. And then Jesus is standing in front of me, and I just knew it was Jesus. I don't know how, but I just knew. Because he didn't look like he does in the Bible and the painting. He was in this white light body, and his heart was this blue blazing star. And he just stood there in front of me, looking at me with complete unconditional love and acceptance. No judgment, no punishment, no why did you do this. I was the one that was going, oh dear, I wish I hadn't said that, and I wish I... And he just kept looking at me like, what's your problem, kind of thing. So I'm kind of feeling very uncomfortable because I wasn't a Christian, and I thought only Christians get to meet Jesus. And I was like, oh, you've got the wrong person here. Are you sure you want to talk to me? I was raised in the Methodist church, and I'm very grateful to that because I love to sing and I love the old hymns, but nothing ever spoke to me. I never had a religious or spiritual experience. I just love to sing. Anyway, he's just standing there while I go through all this stuff. And then we had this conversation in my head, and he said, because your heart is pure, if you want to, you can stay with us in the golden light. But we are asking you to go back because the world needs your love, your wisdom, and your healing. Well, at the time, I did not have much of any of those. I was a school teacher. We get lots of holidays when you're a school teacher, and I was always in the pub playing darts or going off up mountains or on nice holidays. And I said, how can I go back down there knowing that this is where I belong with you? So he broke off a piece of his star and he put it into my heart. And he said, now you will know that I am always with you. So somehow I went back down. I don't remember agreeing. I don't think I did. Sure I wouldn't have done. Anyway, the next minute I'm floating over this body in this bed that is not me, knowing that if I get back into that, which is just the house that I'm living in, I will take on suffering again. If I stay out with them, I will never suffer again. So it was much harder to come back than it was to leave. And I felt so much compassion for my body because I was experiencing all of me like this. There was no limit to it. It was very scary in a way because I was looking for the limits of the boundaries of where I stop, and there weren't any. It just kept going out and out, on and on. So anyway, I decided to come back only because of my children. So I think this was all set up, really. I think I was a victim of some plot. that was the only thing that would have brought me back to this body and this earth, and what we're doing here was my children, because I was the one that invited them, and we had two, so I had to stay around. So when I came back, nothing that I had done before was of any relevance whatsoever. My career as a school teacher, the mortgage, buying the house, none of that mattered. It was absolutely irrelevant. I just wanted to go back to where I had been. And I also knew that there is a plan for this earth, that everything is being orchestrated and it has a purpose and it is going to get there. And at the time I didn't know what the plan was, but now I do. And so I just said, because really there was no me anymore, my life goals, my life track, my vision, all out the window. I just said, wherever you need me to be, let me know and I will go. And any way that I can serve, just tell me, and that's what I'll do. So that's how I know that the body that you are sitting in now is just the house that you are living in. And when you really allow yourself to be all that you are, then the body will completely transform and transmute. So when I had written the Coming Home to Lemuria book, and I was getting all these emails about, I'm in despair, I'm overwhelmed, I want to go home, I don't want to be here. So then I did these sessions going through to the healed earth, to the new earth, and everybody had exactly the same experience. Even though I had not spoken to different people about what other people had seen, everybody saw that their bodies were full of light. They were almost floating. We didn't need to eat anymore because we just lived on the light. We were fully conscious, connected to our own divine essence. We were telepathic, not just with each other, but with the animals and the plants. We just told them what we would like them to do. We didn't eat them anymore. We weren't eating the animals anymore. And we were all just living in harmony on the earth again. So in each session that I did, I asked that person, that part of the person who has ascended, how do we get from where we are in the ascension to now? How do we get from here to there? And the things that every single person said was, first, come into groups, find your soul connections who are resonating at the same frequency that you are. That together, when we come together like this, we lift each other up into the next step, into more of who we are and what we can be. The other thing was eat lots of raw food, vegetables, fruits, and things from the ocean, like seaweed and chlorella and that kind of stuff. And so everybody saw their bodies being rejuvenated. There was no disease anymore. There was no deterioration, that we were all really given these immortal bodies, that we were shifted into immortality. And then when it came time to leave the body, and I was in a community, and everybody was dressed in white, and the words that came in were, all of those people had made the shift. And I remembered my leaving about 20 years ago, before I knew very much about Ascension. Everyone had made the shift. So I was with my twin flame, and we decided that we could leave. So all of our community came together. They sang, they played crystal bowls, they celebrated our lives. We just sat together, and we went back into the light, and our bodies just kind of combusted and burned up, and then we weren't there anymore. But it was not because the body was old and decrepit and diseased. But the reason that we felt we could go home, because that's what we were doing, was because our mission was complete, because the planet was safe for the children. So we didn't need to be here anymore, and we could go home. So that's kind of where we're heading to, that we are going to be in these specially transmuted bodies, and that's happening already. Our bodies are shifting into a crystalline base molecular structure. Instead of carbon, we're shifting to silicone, which can hold more light. So our bodies are literally mutating so that we can bring in all of our divine essence. Now, normally, when we incarnate in a body, we only bring in 30 to 50% of our soul, and the rest stays out in the light. And then when we drop the body, we go back to be reunited. Now, what the Ascension is, and this is what has been shown to me through writing the book and doing the sessions, is that when we go through that doorway to Ascension, we will bring in 100% of our soul. So all of that part of us that knows it is divine, it's a creator god, goddess, it can do anything that it wants. That is the consciousness that we will be living from. So we'll be radiating, we'll be shining, we'll be telepathic, people will be able to just feel what another person is experiencing, and we'll all be helping each other. So it's about coming back to community, being of service. How can I serve? What can I do? And then we will all go through together. When the ascension waves happen, it will be as group souls going together who have the contracts with each other. You see, in the past, we have aimed at individual enlightenment. That's what a lot of the religious traditions, the Hindu, the Buddhist, have individually aimed at being enlightened. Well, this event, when we go through the ascension, is not about one person. It's like all of us going together into the light. So as soon as enough people are ready to make that shift, then everybody can go. It only takes 51%. So each one of you is connected to a whole web of souls that you have a frequency resonance with. It's like a symphony. You are all notes of a symphony. So every one of you, as you connect to your divine essence, then you are lighting up your part of an enormous grid. Now, when all of those lights light up, when the whole grid lights up, then everybody will lift together. So the only job that you have right now is to put your light on, is to switch your switch, and just be willing to embody the divine being that you already are. So you just say, I'm ready, I'm willing, use me, how can I serve? And then it will happen, because everything that you consciously put out, you are instantly creating. So all it takes is the willingness to do that, and then it will be done. So really that's the only job that you have right now, is to step into your divine essence and be the light in your grid, and then you light up the next person, and then they light up their people, and then the whole earth is lit up. So it's not about us doing it alone. It's about us doing it together. So just start practicing that. When people say, can I help you? Say, yes, please, instead of if you were raised in England, no, I couldn't possibly. Somebody told me you have to ask an English person 3 times if you want to give them something, because they always say no the first 2 times. So I'm telling you now, if you want to give me something, you have to offer it 3 times. So let's practice offering, how can I help you? How can I serve you? And let's practice saying, thank you very much.